Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Figures have been published which are quite, honestly, just shocking. Jaw-droppingly shocking. In the last 6 months alone, over 4,000 people have had to sit and wait in A&E in Scotland for over a day. More than a day in A&E, when the target time is 4 hours. You go in and the whole point of A&E is that you are triaged, assessed very quickly and either dealt with immediately, sent home or taken up onto the ward, admitted, and treatment can begin quite quickly. To sit there for more than a day is appalling. But we'll take a look at it, we'll see what's going on, see why. Once again, we're showing that the SNP have really taken their eye off the ball when it comes to the NHS and ultimately just people. These people are people. They've got families, friends, neighbours, and they're being treated like animals. Here goes. So, scandalous SNP government blasted as almost 4,000 patients spend more than a day in A&E in just 6 months. That is a headline I shouldn't have to read. That's a headline that doesn't surprise me, but it's one I shouldn't have to read. Doctors have branded the figures shocking after the Royal College of Emergency Medicine revealed that the number of patients waiting more than a day has skyrocketed to more than 250 times what the figure was in 2019. What is going on in the hospitals that this is even happening? Humza Yousaf and the Scottish Government have been blasted after scandalous new figures revealed that almost 4,000 patients spent a day or more trapped in A&E in the first 6 months of the year. And the true scale of nationalist incompetence was revealed, as this number is more than 250 times higher than in 2019. So in just 4 years, 4 short years, it has increased 250 times. It goes to show that the SNP have no interest at all, nothing but their obsession with independence. They're not doing anything about the NHS. The Royal College of Emergency Medicine revealed that 3,949 Scots were stuck in A&E up to June 23, with only 15 patients suffering the same fate in the same period in 2019. This was described as shocking by the doctors, and of course it's the doctors and nurses and the medical staff, all the medical staff, who sit at the pointy end of this, see what's happening, and they're powerless. Now, I don't know if any one of you, I'm sure you all have been in hospital, whether it's an inpatient visiting, whatever, at some point recently. Well, I'd say recently, within the last year maybe, who knows. But a lot of you will have been. And you know that the staff are working very, very hard. We can't blame the staff. This isn't an issue with the workers. This isn't an issue with the doctors and nurses. This is a systemic failure by the lack of numbers of staff, the lack of doctors, the lack of nurses, the lack of ancillary staff as well, because you do need the cleaners, the secretaries, the clerks. You need all those. What you absolutely don't need, is 5 layers of management. And of course, that's where a lot of the money's going. You've got all these different managers managing managers, rather than, people at the pointy end going, oh, can we have some more nurses? We need 2 more doctors. We need 7 more nurses. We need 3 nurses on this ward alone. That sort of thing. Wherever there is a major backlog is where you put more staff. Clear the backlog, move on to the next department, see which is the next department. So let's say cancer ward's bad. Right, fine, blah, 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 blah. You get everyone through on the cancer ward. Where's next? Oh, where it'll be fractures, breaks. That's in trouble. You move them over there, and so forth. You target it. What you don't do is go, oh, we've got a problem. Better hire another manager and 3 clerks to investigate the problem. And that's what's happening. All this money going in, but it's not going in at the front end. It's not going in on patient expense, the things that actually matters. Anyway, with the winter months upcoming, feared to be some of the worst on record, and to be honest, and a quick aside, given storms, I can't remember it, no, Storm Babette, and of course now you've got this Storm Kieran coming in sort of from today onwards. It's going to be pretty bad, and that's just the two. And of course you've got winter on its way. Anyway, with some of the with the upcoming months feared to be some of the worst on record, this could mean even worse figures, with the most recent ones showing that they hit their highest level since May, with only 65% of patients being seen within 4 hours. And that's the target, is the 4-hour target. And so only two-thirds of the people are seen within the target time. A third of all people outside of target time. Heads need to roll. This is obviously a managerial systemic problem. It's not the people at the pointy end. Doctors described the figures as completely unacceptable, warned that delays would cause patient harm and even death in some cases. And we've said this, people will die sitting, waiting in A&E, waiting until a bed is cleared, waiting because there are not enough people treating those in front to get through at any kind of, agreed level. Dr. Jean-Paul Lockery, I'm going to say, the Vice President of the RCEM, said every day we see appalling numbers facing long waits for care. And what is shocking is the speed and scale of the increase in these waits in just a few years. 24 hours in A&E belongs on TV, not in the daily reality for patients and staff. And he is, of course, completely 100% right. And there's Sandesh Gillane. Now, he's the Tory spokesman on health, but he's also an NHS doctor. And so when he stands up in Holyrood and starts speaking about what is going on in hospitals, in A&E and whatever, people need to listen. But of course the SNP won't. They don't listen to anyone because they're the experts. Even though this guy works, very, very much up against what is becoming increasingly a very difficult wall to get over. But he's the one that's doing the treating. Anyway, Scottish Tory health spokesman Sandesh Gillane, just mentioned, labelled these new figures utterly scandalous and scarcely believable. What's very sad about that is, yes, I agree they're utterly scandalous, but I believe it all too easily from this SNP government. He said, my thoughts are with those who've suffered those intolerable waits, which we know has led to needless deaths. The crisis in A&E on the SNP's watch is utterly terrifying and only growing more dangerous with each passing week. He continued, it is now well over 3 years since the SNP last met their 4-hour waiting target for patients to be seen in A&E. And it is the shocking norm for a third of the patients to have to wait longer than that. And he's right. And nobody ideally should be waiting in A&E for 4 hours. I mean, in an ideal utopia, you walk in and a team approaches you and says what appears to be the problem, and they take you and boom, and they assess you, they triage you. They'll either treat you there and then send you on your way, or they will go boom straight in and admit, and you get treated on the ward. That's an ideal world. We know that this is never going to happen with socialised medicine because there's too many people, not enough doctors and nurses. But even though that is not the norm, it should be the ideal to attain to. And certainly the 4-hour wait should be the absolute maximum for anyone on a walk-in from the A&E. I mean, obviously you come in as an emergency, that's fine. I've sat there, I had a broken arm. And you sit there and you nurse your broken arm. It's not life and death, it's a broken arm. You see some poor bugger coming in, having had a major heart attack or a stroke or something like that. Of course he gets treated before you. Of course he does. That's how triage works. You accept that. But you don't accept sitting there for 8, 10, 12, 24 hours waiting just to be seen. That is scandalous and that is wrong. And it's so easy to fix. It really is. The A&E problem is absolutely so easy to fix that it's a wonder that the SNP don't do it. And then you have to ask why they're not doing it. And of course it's their obsession with independence. Anyway, I shall finish there. I shall come up and we shall round off this video. How do we go about solving it? Well, the cost of putting, say, 2 doctors and 6 nurses, that's a doctor and 3 nurses per shift for 2 shifts, into A&E, in excess of where you are now, would cost approximately 3 months' worth of spin doctors that they're spending on the NHS in Scotland. And that's for a year. So 3 months worth of spin doctoring would put 2 doctors, 6 nurses in each of the 105 hospitals in Scotland for an entire year. That money alone would make such a massive dent in the waiting list for A&E. Think of that, all across Scotland. That extra doctor and 3 nurses per shift during the day, because you don't need it maybe at 3 o'clock in the morning in the night shift. But during the day, yes, things happen, traffic accidents, people fall over, people are out and about, yes. But for such a small amount of money. And what you're actually doing is cutting down on spin doctors and buying real doctors. And I think that that is something that everyone can get behind, regardless of their political persuasion. I think even SNP voters would rather have a real doctor than a spin doctor. Although you never know with that lot. Anyway, I shall finish there. Thank you very much for watching. Again, another example of the SNP failing massively in looking after the people. It happens so often. They do. They are excellent value for money in terms of that. It's just a shame that it's done so at people's lives. Anyway, till next time, stay safe, stay well, look after yourself, and for heaven's sake, don't go to hospital if you can avoid it. Bye.